So yeah, that was the religion of the people, and yeah, I had to reset the new stream. So that was the religion of the people, and when you're talking about, you know, what happens after that, or how people are classified, that's going to come into the mix when you're talking about these documents and these times, right? So jump down to Article 12, and that those connections, right, and those how should I put it? Those facilitations based on those connections and those allegiances based on those connections still reign true today. You know what I mean? Whether most people know it or not. You know what I mean? Those lineages still exist to this day. And we know Christians exist. All right? And today we know Moors exist. whether you thought it was it was something not around. Anyway, number 12, if any ship of war belonging to the United States shall put into our ports, she shall not be examined on any pretense whatever, even though she shall have fugitive slaves on board, nor shall the governor or commander of the place compel them to be brought on shore on any pretext, nor require any payment for them. Right? So when we're talking about fugitive slaves, we're talking about slaves who were taken away from their master. So even though they talk about the Moors allow slavery, this one says that if any ship of war belonging to the United States shall be put into any of our ports, she should not be examined on any pretense, whatever, even though she shall have fugitive slaves. So if a U.S. ship can have fugitive slaves, right? So if we're allowing them to have fugitive slaves on board, nor shall the governor or commander of the place or the palace compel them to be brought on shore on any pretext, nor any payment for them. Right? So we can't demand payment for them, for the fugitive slaves. So it goes the same way, right? Because what was going on? Moors had Europeans in slavery as well. All right. I had to, sip some beverage. But it was an equal license of exchange at this point. So number 13, if a ship of war of either party shall be put into a port of the other and salute, it shall be returned from the fort with an equal number of guns, not with more or less. So if you salute, you know what I mean, they're supposed to salute back. You know what I mean? That's how you know that there's, again, peace. And it's not supposed to be with any more guns or any less. You know what I mean? Letting you know that I'm not gonna come with any more force or any less force than you showing at the moment. You know what I mean? At the moment. Number 14, the commerce with the United States shall be on the same footing as the commerce with Spain, because there was already treaties with Morocco and Spain, right? Commerce with Spain, or as that with the most favored nation for the time being, and their citizens shall be respected and esteemed and have full liberty to pass and repass our country and seaports whenever they please without interruption. Again, Treaty of Amity and Commerce, free pass, repass. All right, you had liberty. You can move how you want to. Right? Got the same footing in commerce. You can negotiate how you want to. All right. Number 15. Merchants of both countries shall employ only such interpreters or such other persons to assist them in their business as they shall think proper. No commander of a vessel shall transport his cargo on board another vessel. He shall not be detained in port longer than he may think proper. And all persons employed in loading or unloading goods or any other labor whatever shall be paid at the customary rates, and no more and not less. So you can carry it on whatever ship, carry it however you want to, whatever means you want to, and you're not supposed to be detained in the ports. You're not supposed to be detained. You know what I mean? It's clear, pretty clear. 16. In case of a war between the parties, the prisoners are not to be made slaves. So this is what I was, going back to. They weren't supposed to be taking Moors and turning them into slaves. But if you were out there and you weren't trying to claim allegiance to anybody, and you were just out at sea, and they took you as a slave, whether you were Moorish or Christian, all right, you could be made slave. You could be made into a slave at this time. But this is trying to make it clear for people on either side, right? So 16. In case of a war between the parties, the prisoners are not to be made slaves, but to be exchanged one for another, captain for captain, officer for officer, and one private man for another, which most of us today would be considered private men or women, right? Because most people are not in the Moorish government, so to speak. And if there shall prove a deficiency on either side, it shall be made up by the payment of 100 Mexican dollars for each person wanting. So for all you guys who are economists, I'll let you figure out what the Mexican dollar was priced at that time, and price and time value of money up into 2016, and see what that would be today in today's terms. And let's just for the record, let somebody else see if it lines up with what we're talking about when we talk about our inflationary rates and things of that sort, and just see how far off we are, for real. You know what I mean? Because that data would, I'd be interested to see that data, scholars. Anyway, back to 16. And it is agreed that all prisoners shall be exchanged in 12 months. In 12 months. If they do make prisoner of you, in 12 months, supposed to be exchanged from the time of their being taken, and that this exchange may be effected by a merchant, or any person authorized by either of the parties. And I wonder why we have such a confusing, and deep bond market. You know what I mean? And why they want you to sign these so-called little pieces of paper with these bond, creating these bond instruments, right? That are sold on the stock market in your name, and in your under your social and things, right? But anyway, that's another topic for another day. Number 17, merchants shall not be compelled to buy or sell any kind of goods, but such goods they shall think proper, right? And may buy and sell all sorts of merchandise, but such as are prohibited to other Christian nations, right? So it's got to be prohibited to all the other Christian nations, right? Before they can really say that it's prohibited to you. Because this is a general treaty of amity and commerce that is binding in line with other treaties, all right? So you got to line them all up at the end of the day. Anyway, yeah, do your due diligence. Please do your due diligence. It's long. 18, all goods shall be weighed and examined. So this is going back when we talking about a bartering and a trade system. All goods should be weighed and examined before they are sent on board, and to avoid all detention of vessels, no examination shall afterwards be made. So there's a pre-check, and then there's no check afterwards. You know what I mean? That's why typically when you go on a flight, you can get checked at the beginning, and then when you get off on board, later on, they don't double check your stuff. Say, oh, you just came from Phoenix. Let me see your ticket from Phoenix. You just got off the plane from Phoenix. You know what I mean? It don't make any sense. But anyway, when you're talking about a plane, but when you're talking about a ship or a vessel on the water, just put it in that sense. All right, you follow me? Anyway, unless it shall be first proved. So no examination shall afterwards be made unless it shall be first proved that contraband goods have been sent on board. So they got to prove from the pre-check that it was already on board. In which case, the persons who took the contraband goods on board shall be punished according to the usage and custom of the country, and no other person whatever shall be injured. Right? Nor shall the ship or cargo incur any penalty or damage whatever. 19. No vessel, scrolling down, no vessel shall be detained in port. Again, you're not supposed to be detained. How many times, you know what I mean? How many times you got to reiterate this? No vessel shall be detained in port on any presence or pretense, whatever, nor be obligated or obliged to take on board any article without the consent of the commander, comma, who shall be at full liberty to agree for the freight of any goods he takes on board. So this is getting into what I was going back from day one, you know what I mean, when I was telling you guys about your language, you know what I mean, and when I was talking about how when they ask you these peculiar and particular questions, you know what I mean, and depending on how you answer these peculiar and particular questions with particularity, they will assume or presume jurisdiction or a lack thereof, and they will act accordingly if they are aware. All right, because typically those who have been at their job long enough have run into other Moors, and they know that you can get hit pretty quick with some charges, and they will stick. You know what I mean? Ask those who've been a victim of them if you think I'm lying. Or matter of fact, holler at the European out of Kentucky. You can find him on Facebook. Shouts out to Latif Bey, and he'll tell you about his experiences. You know what I mean? I'll let him. You know what I mean? Because y'all, it ain't no game. Anyway, 20. 20. If any of the citizens of the United States or any persons, right, under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, right, the consul shall decide between the parties. And whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. Right? So we're talking about the consul. So disputes between the parties, the consul shall, if they require any aid, any assistance, the government is supposed to help enforce it, the decisions of the consul. Yet again, the decisions of the consul, you're supposed to be getting that immediately. You know what I mean? What's the hold up? You let me know. Islam, y'all let me know. We could deal with that on another topic for another day. Yet again, number 21. If a citizen of the United States should kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, comma, the law of the country shall take place, and equal justice shall be rendered, comma, the consul assisting at trial, comma, and if any delinquent shall make his escape, comma, the consul shall not be answerable for him in any manner whatever. Right? So we're talking about criminal or murder trial. Right? Killing or wounding a Moor. Or on the contrary, a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States. Alright? What's going to take place? The law of the country. So right there, what are they talking about? Moors. Diversity of citizenship. Right? Might have something to do with Article 3. Might have something to do with Article 6. Islam. Might have something to do with Article 21 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Islam. Number 22. If an American shall die in our country and no will shall appear. So we're talking about trust in the states here. No will shall appear, comma, the consul shall take possession of his effects. And if there shall be no consul, comma, the effect shall be deposited in the hands of some person worthy of worthy of trust, comma, until the party shall appear who has a right to demand them, comma, but if the heir to the person deceased be present, comma, the property shall be delivered to him without interruption, semicolon. Right, so this is a qualifier now. And if a will shall appear, so we was talking about if there was no will, but the heir or the party, you know what I mean, the party shall appear who has a right to demand it, or the heir, you know, of the deceased person is present, right? That's one situation. Another one is another situation, and this is the qualifier. If there is a will, shall appear, comma, the property shall descend agreeable to that will, comma, as soon as the consul shall declare the validity thereof. Right? All right. Speaks for itself. The consul's got to declare the validity. Right? And if the will's there, it's got to go based on that will. We've got a treaty here. It's making it very clear how these things are supposed to go and what happens every day. You know what I mean? Unconscious Moors, they die. Their estates get, converted, sometimes liquidated for the moment. And then it goes, well, I'll let you go through that whole process. But basically the courts hang on to it and they get their cut off top, all right? And then, they divvy it up and they pass it on back to you after everything's done, all right? So, you gotta really stay on top of what happens with your property, because once it happens and you don't have it lined up the way it's supposed to, it could go to the state and they just soak everything up. You know what I mean? And we're almost done here, so let's just go on and finish it out. Number 23. The consuls of the United States of America shall reside in any seaport of our dominions that they shall think proper, and they shall be respected and enjoy all privileges which the consul of any other nation enjoy. And if any of the citizens of the United States shall contract any debts or engagements, right? Shall contract any debts or engagements, you've heard that language. The consul shall not be in any manner accountable for them, comma, unless he shall have given a promise, right, in writing for the payment, promissory note, or fulfilling thereof, actions, right, comma, without which promise in writing, no application to him for any redress shall be made. So when Moors are demanding contracts, when we're demanding, certain rights and obligations, or when other people are putting certain demands and obligations and ignoring certain rights, for us, Article 23, you got to show it to us in writing. You got to show us a promise in writing, right? For the payment or fulfilling thereof, without which the promise in writing, no application to him for any redress shall be made. And typically most of these claims are based in fraud. So, as Moors, we can discharge that if need be, accordingly, Islam. So number 24, we finishing it right on up, right in time. This 829. If any differences shall arise by either party infringing on any of the articles of this treaty, peace and harmony Peace and harmony shall remain notwithstanding in the fullest force until, until a friendly application shall be made for an arrangement, and until that application shall be rejected, no appeal shall be made to arms. And if a war shall break out between the parties, 9 months shall be granted to all subjects of both parties, to dispose of their effects and retire of their property. And it is further declared that whatever indulgences in trade or otherwise shall be granted to any of the Christian powers, the citizens of the United States shall be equally entitled to them, right? So the indulgences, the privileges, all of that good stuff, right? And there's something else I wanted to really harp on here before I go on to 25. When it talks about if there's an outbreak of war, right, between the parties, 9 months shall be granted. That's a very important time. You know what I mean? And all you ladies out there, you know why 9 months is so special. You know what I mean? But we talking about it in Article 24. 9 months are granted to all subjects of both parties. So everybody's getting the opportunity to dispose of their effects and retire with their property. And that's going back to what we were saying before, where if the treaty is broken for any reason, if you don't want this treaty to go forward, you've got 9 months to dispose of your effects, which is your property, and your effects and all things you own, and retire your property, meaning give it up, relinquish. All right, and we going for the record, we gonna hit something that says that they relinquish, for the record. All right, so number 25, this treaty shall continue in full force, with the help of God for 50 years. We have delivered this book into the hands of the before mentioned Thomas Barclay, and going back to who we was talking about, the agent, on the first day of the blessed month of Ramadan in the year 1200. I certify that the annex is a true copy of the translation made by Isaac Cordoza Nunez, yeah, I think I said it right, interpreter at Morocco, of the treaty between the Emperor of Morocco and the United States of America, Thomas Barclay. I think that's Odnon or Quadnoon, on the Atlantic coast about the 29th degree north, right? And then, just to kind of fully answer the question, I'm jumping in the 100 million notes, and I'm gonna kind of jump through this. And you guys can look this up when you want to, but I'm just showing you guys in the chat, so you can see. Because this is very important. You know what I mean? When they talk about the original documents here, it says the original documents. Oh, let me back up. The city of Morocco, where the treaty was signed, is known as Marrakesh. All right. The dates given are those recited. Some doubt is cast upon their accuracy, however, by the letter from Thomas Barclay, who negotiated the treaty with the Emperor of Morocco, addressed to Adams and Jefferson, and dated at Morocco, July 16th, 1786, from which the following is extracted: Diplomatic Correspondence, 1783 to 1789, 1814, page 1814, 814, my bad. Quote, the 13th instant, the treaty was sent to me by the Effendi, since which some important alterations have been made, which the villainy and carelessness of the, Talbi Haundrani, to whom the drawing was committed, made necessary. So they're saying there was a mistake, let you guys look up with villainy. It was some carelessness, some negligence, right? On the part of this Talbi Haundrani, I'm probably mucking that up. Anyway, made necessary, and yesterday it was again delivered from Tahir Finish. Now, Tahir Finish is a very important brother. You know what I mean? He was on the Moorish side, and he was a correspondent for the emperor, right? there were some letters and correspondences between him and your boy Thomas Barclay that you guys can go look up if you think that the treaty, and its parties and agents, weren't in existence and all of that good stuff. But here we're talking about, the treaty, to whose hands the king committed the arrangement of the matter. It still wants an article arrangement, or rather a declaration which his majesty has permitted to be made in his name, but which he desired might not make a part of the treaty. So for whatever reason, and legal scholars have debated for years, all right, more scholars have debated for years as to why the treaty, or why the majesty, the emperor, would intentionally draft a treaty, negotiate a treaty, and leave certain articles out of the treaty to later be placed into it. Okay? Realizing that, it was placed in a book, right? And it was sealed. Okay? And we're getting into the importance of that going forward. But, just let it roll around in your mind for a second. Why would that be? You know what I mean? What crazy idea would the Sultan have in mind? You know what I mean? But let's see. In a letter of June 26, 1786, Barclay had written, quote, "The last draft of the treaty is made, comma, and will probably be signed in a few days," right, end quote. And that's at page 805, right, of these same diplomatic correspondence records. Then it says the document signed by Jefferson and Adams, including the English translations of the treaty and additional articles, is printed in full after the Arabic text of the treaty. So there's the Arabic text, and then they wrote or put in the English translation, right? And then they signed after that. So following it is printed the ship signals agreement with a comment on its 2 lines of Arabic script. Then come the observations of Dr. Schnock Hargonji, I think that's what it is, regarding the English translation of 1786 with his own rendering of various articles, right? So the original documents. This is when it gets interesting. Yeah, it's got a more put your thinking caps on. All right. The original document signed by Jefferson and Adams is in the 9-1 CC papers, I folios 213 through page 213 through 31. The Department of State file contains a facsimile of that document, the original of the treaty and the original of the ship signals agreement, right? But the original of the additional article has not been found and accordingly cannot be reproduced. Can't be found, can't be reproduced. This additional article, right? Whatever reason, As to this article, Barclay reported, wonder why it can't be found. I just wonder. As to this article, Barclay reported, quote, in a letter to Adams and Jefferson, October 2nd, 1786, diplomatic correspondence, 17, and this is just, the site right here that I'm reading out for the record for y'all on Ustream and YouTube, 1783, 1789, volume 2, page 695. The original of the declaration made by Mr. Finnish could not be placed in the same book with the treaty sealed by the emperor. Why? The Moorish forms not permitting it. Therefore, Mr. Finnish wrote it in another book, which I had placed in his hands with a copy of the treaty for examination, in order that he might certify the verity of it, lest any accident should happen to the original, which book with authentic copies of the other papers remains in my hands. Then it says the original of the additional articles appears to have been enclosed in a letter from Thomas Barclay to Jefferson, dated at Madrid, December 4, 1786, signed copy in 9-1 CC papers, right? Y'all see that, okay? So now it says, I now enclose you a copy of the declaration made by Tahar Finnish in addition to the 10th article of the treaty with the Emperor of Morocco. It is in Arabic and signed by himself. The necessity of a duplicate of that declaration, comma, did not appear obvious to me until I got to Tangier. And within this hour it has reached me. You have also seen the translation annexed to it. So apparently to him, it didn't make any sense, or there was no necessity to duplicate the declaration, right, for this additional article until he got to Tangier. And within the hour it has reached me, and you have also translation annexed to it. All right. In the calendar of the letters to Jefferson, bulletin, right? Bulletin of the Rolls and Library, number 8, page 236. This letter is listed, press copy for a degree, funny A, right? Funny looking A, y'all can see that. 2 pages. I'm reading from down here now. Right? The letter, which is in the Library of Congress, 26 Thomas, Jefferson Papers, folio 447, is not a press copy, however. It is an original. There is no enclosure with it in diplomatic correspondence, 1783, 1789, 232. It's printed in translation, additional article certified by Thomas Barclay under the date. Right? The Annex Declaration in Arabic, certified translation, has not been found. They can't even find it. Print translation of the article certified by Thomas Barclay under the date of the above mentioned letter and referring to the Annex Declaration in Arabic. But that certified translation has not been found. So the letter that was in Arabic that Thomas Barclay said he really didn't see a point in translating until he got to Tangier can't be found at this point. Wonder why. Anyway, and you know, it's not so much to cause confusion, but to just lead those who would wish to do the research to find out, you know what I mean? But if you really want to know, I mean, just look at the effects of what they've done currently with everybody not knowing about the treaty. You know what I mean? And jumping into it, and this is gonna be the last part I'm gonna read, and we're gonna kind of open the floor up and kind of wing it from here. In the making of the treaties, the procedure and customs of the various Barbary treaties, the various Barbary states differed somewhat inter se, and were not in all respects those of usual diplomatic practice. Right? Thus, in the present instance, the sealing on behalf of the Emperor of Morocco of the original treaty written in the quote-unquote book with the delivery thereof. So these actions, right, where it's talking about the sealing on behalf of the Emperor of Morocco, that's number one of the original treaty. That's number one. Along, you know, with it being in the book, and then the delivery of that book, the delivery thereof, was deemed a finality. So those two acts on the part of Morocco. The theory, so this is talking about the legal theory, all right? The theory seems to have been somewhat similar to our notion, talking about the English notion, of a unilaterally executed grant. And its delivery for the text in the book was not signed or sealed on behalf of the other party. Why? Because it was unilateral. Didn't need the signature of the other party. It was done by the party who had the authority to do it. It was completed at that point. All right? There was no need to go further. Everything else was just a formality. All right? To help ensure that the peace was to continue. You know, it's like, all right, here's our offer. Here's the deal. Deal or no deal. All right? That's it. It was in a book. The Moorish forms wouldn't permit them to do anything else. It may be added that the book is literally a book in leather covers with the text running from the back leaf on the alternate pages and the front page is blank. All right. So coming back and finishing it up. All right. And just so you guys know, I was reading from the Yale website on Avalon, and let me just reset the room right quick, just in case. And it's 8:45. Let me talk to everybody. Just sleep on probably. Yeah, so we just shutting it down and rolling it on in. For the evening. All right. Islam. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see me. Hold on. Oh man. All right, but yeah, for all you guys on YouTube, you know, who are gonna be watching this later, I was going through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I was reading from the Avalon's website regarding Hunter Miller's notes. You know what I mean? And that's just background data for all you nerds out there. You know, who want to do further research on the treaty, but all of this is on the record. It's all been, you know, like I said, there before. Like I said, and that was reading from the Yale website. There's other versions out there. You know what I mean? I just like to use their website because I know that they, you know, spend a lot of money on their resources, and typically that website's up. You know what I mean? They're running 24/7. And most people who don't know anything about moral science may not believe what New Nagi is saying, and I don't want them to believe what New Nagi is saying. I'd rather them believe who they're used to believing. You know what I mean? If most Negroes are used to believing, you know, other Europeans, then by all means, go check it out and hear from the Europeans. You know, but as Moors, we dispensate this information as best we can, you know, for the people, for their betterment, and for the betterment of society as a whole, because, you know, we are our brother's keepers at the end of the day. At least we try to be as best we can, because if we're not going to take care of our brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, be they in blood or in commerce, you know what I mean, how we gonna do business? How we gonna survive? You know what I mean? How are we going to maintain ourselves in the manner that we're accustomed to maintaining ourselves? You know what I mean? How are we going to grow as a society? These are the questions that, you know, that we struggle with when we deal with these social constructs that we call racism. You know what I mean? Because we know race is a social construct. That's nothing new. You know what I mean? The whole black and white thing is based off the color code. You know what I mean? That Moors created anciently. You know what I mean? So we're not confused about who we are, where we're at with this thing. This is, you know, nationalities the order of the day. You know what I mean? We're Moors. We've been, you know, colonized by the Christian powers. Even though we agreed to a treaty of peace and commerce, we put a constitution down. You know what I mean? Article 6 laid down, you know, what it was that we were supposed to be doing and how this is supposed to be going. You know what I mean? And that because, you know, the question that the sister asked was so deep and intricate, like I really, you know what I mean, don't just want to leave it there. I know we don't have too many people in the chat, but, you know, we do have the record to speak for. And all you guys, like I said, later on YouTube and Ustream, you guys can all check this out later. So because there's a lot of stuff I want to get to, and it's 8:49, so I'm just gonna go with the flow on this one. Where I want to go next? Because, you know, the answer as to why this is the longest unbroken treaty is a very good question. You know what I mean? And like I said, it could take us days to go through it. But there were some things I wanted to make sure I hit for you guys. And like I said, get into the record. Yeah. So here, talking about the Moors, and this is just some of the stuff. And this is coming out of Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. I'm reading from page 58. Shout out to Sabir Bay, you know what I mean, put me on, and all the other Moors who, and Cujo Adwell, who always, diligently put in their research and their time. You know what I mean? But when we talk about why this is, like I said, the longest unbroken treaty, coming here from page 59, says Moor sultans whose fathers might be of any hue from black to white were sometimes the sons of Christian mothers captured on the ships or the coast of Western Europe, including the British Isles. Among such are Abi el-Ola, Muhammad Abd el-Odhai, and Abu Debas. Female slaves with faultless complexions and golden hair were imported from Sweden and Finland, and Greek and Ceracia, or Ceracia, whatever. Anyway, beauties as dancers, singers, and wives. Right. So they were importing women from Sweden, Finland, Greek, and Ceracians. Ceracian beauties as dancers, singers, and wives. Right? For 8th century, shapely black women from Ethiopia and West Africa were brought in for the same purposes. Right? White French slaves were also sold in numbers to the Moors by Jews with royal permission. By Jews with royal permission. Anyway, interesting. They use Bordeaux as a slave port. So all y'all, Bordeaux. I think that's Bordeaux. Yeah. Or Bordeaux. As a slave port. Arnold thinks that most of the Islamic slaves came from the Slavonic peoples. Right? So Arnold thinks, and I can jump down to the site, number 16. Yeah, anyway. Arnold thinks that most of the Islamic slaves came from the Slavonic peoples. It was not until 1560 when Moorish power waned that black women, by Christian edicts, ceased to arrive in Spain for Muslim harems. The Christians, however, for the 2 centuries later, continued the importation of blacks. Right? So, you know what I mean? That speaks directly to the fact that the Moors, once we put the treaty down, we stopped importing them as slaves. You know what I mean? And we started making moves to try to quell the slavery as time went on. But the Christian powers, in abrogation of the treaty, right, continued that practice. In fact, they found solace, and as we go through and look at the Constitution, they found ways to strengthen their position as a commercial activity. Why? Because they were given a commercial license under the treaty to do business by the Moors. You know what I mean? And if we include slavery, we could just say it's an unfettered license to do business, including slavery at the time. Now the nations of the earth have deemed slavery to be, deplorable, thank God. But at the time, this is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? But as a people, we've agreed to abolish that. So now that is no more. But the European powers in place in the U.S. are doing what? Still maintaining colonialization. They're still maintaining those vestiges of control, of which were established by the colonial powers. which they themselves have said that they relinquished. Where? You know what I mean? At 88222141, right? Let me just pull this up for the record. You know what I mean? You guys, you can go look this up wherever you want to. But, you know, for the record, I'm talking about Title 20, you know, United States Code of General Permanent Character. You know, I always talk about it. Title 22, Chapter 2, Section 141, right? And I'm harping on this bad boy because it, you know, it really cracked the code for me. You know what I mean? And in my understanding of more science, you know, it was my key, you know, for me that gave me that aha, you know, that thinking cap moment where the wheels really started to turn. You know what I mean? And all you more, you know, you active Morons out there, you know what I'm talking about. That moment when you really, you know, really start to see not just understanding what it is, you know, what it's for, but what to do with it, like the prophet said, right? And let me, you know, for those who are in the chat, I'm going to share the screen, right? And we're going to go and close it up with this. Now I'll open the floor for questions and give out the homework. So 141 to 143 repealed, right? And I'm looking at the uscode.house.gov, G-O-V. Act, August 1, 1956. So it says repeal August 1, 1956. Repeal sections 141 to 143 effective upon the date which the president determined to be appropriate for what? Excuse me. The relinquishment of jurisdiction of the United States in Morocco. Jurisdiction of the United States in Morocco was relinquished by memorandum of President Eisenhower dated September 15, 1956. Notice was given to Morocco on October 6, 1956, and all pending cases were disposed of by 1960. See Bulletin of the State Department, Volume 23, 903, page 844. All right? And it tells you, 141, related to judicial authority generally of ministers and consuls, is what we was talking about, ministers and consuls of the United States in China, Siam, Turkey, Morocco, Muscat, Abyssinia, Persia, and territories formerly part of the Ottoman Empire, including Egypt, right? Why? Because they're taught this section dealt with the rights that they were given to United States consuls, right? Before, when we were talking about consuls in the treaty, we were talking about Moorish consuls, right? Right here, 143, 141, we're talking, you know, we could be talking about U.S. consuls, or we could be talking about foreign consuls, right? Because this chapter generally deals with consular courts, okay? China, Siam, Turkey, Morocco, Muscat, Abyssinia, Persia, and the territories formerly part of the Ottoman Empire, including what? Egypt. I think it speaks for itself. 142, related to general criminal jurisdiction of ministers and consuls of the United States. 143, related to general jurisdiction of ministers and consuls of the United States and venue in civil cases. So 142, criminal jurisdiction for ministers and consuls. 143, civil jurisdictions for ministers and consuls. 141, generally jurisdiction, you know what I mean, for ministers and consuls. And that act was repealed. So if it was repealed, that means that the rights that it was saying were generally, you know, secured by that language, by that body of language, or that body of legislation within, you know, under what? The United States Code, all right, was repealed. And why was it repealed? Because there was a relinquishment of jurisdiction. For the record, For all those who are not clear as to what relinquishment means, we're going to make it real clear this evening. Today. For the record. Islam. So, you know, because when people are out here, you know, talking about treaties and talking about constitutions, they don't know, you know, what the heck they are talking about. You know, it causes damage to the people. You know, it really causes damage to the people because at the end of the day, you know, just like I know, 9 times out of 10, basic English. You know what I mean? You know, just like I know, that there are things called dictionaries. All right? You know, just like I know, that in those dictionaries there are words with common phrases and definitions, and that if you go deeper into those definitions, you'll find the etymon, you'll find the part of speech, and you'll find the so-called denotative definitions in the 1, 2, 3, 4 order, right? Ascending, descending, depending on you know how it's given. But generally, that's how dictionaries are made, and that's how words are defined generally, so that other people can come to some common understanding as to what the word means, minus conjecture or opinion, so to speak, for the record. Islam. So when we talk about relinquishment, by definition, by legal definition, Moors are talking about to abandon, relinquishment, to abandon, to give up, to surrender, to renounce some right or thing. To abandon, to give up, surrender, to renounce some right or thing. Relinquishment, a forsaking, abandoning, renouncing, or giving over a right. Right? You gave it up. You relinquished it. It's not yours anymore. Right? And realize that this relinquishment can go both ways. They've done it on paper in terms of relinquishing their authority over the Moors, back to the Moors. But are the Moors relinquishing the Christian authority that they've accepted over them back to the Christians? Are they relinquishing the Christian property back unto Caesar? You know, which it came from? I don't know. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you have. You know what I mean? But if there's any remainder in your possession, do realize that they will lay claim to it if need be. You know what I mean? And if not, they will let you, you know, have an illusory position or hold it under auspices of a loan or a lien on your estate. You know, Islam. So we're just gonna wrap it up. I hope that answered the question as far as why, you know, and I know we went through a lot today, but why this is the longest unbroken treaty? Why, you know, why is it that, you know, this hasn't been really broken? You know what I mean? Why is it they still got this stuff on the books if this treaty is so important, this treaty is so powerful, you know what I mean, and it does so much damage to the European? Why does the European, you know, why is it in his best interest to maintain it? Well, it's in his best interest to maintain it because it's what authorized him to be here in the first place. You know what I mean? And if a document, just like if I was to say, let's say I was going to, you know, make make pins. You know what I mean? I was gonna make blue pins for the Blue Man Company. You know what I mean? And that's a company with a trademark and a brand and all of that good stuff. I don't get to just sell Blue Man pins. You know what I mean? Blue Man Company pins because I want to. I have to come to some agreement with that company because they have a particular brand, they have particular, things in place. So I have to come to an agreement to sell on behalf of them as an agent, going back to the municipal penitentiary and all of that. I got to have some type of agency relationship to do that. You know what I mean? Same thing with coming out here and doing commerce. You know what I mean? I'd have to have some type of permission if I was a foreigner from somebody else to do commerce, right? Because why? It's not my land. I don't necessarily have permission to do business here. You know what I mean? But when it is my land and I'm the one giving the permission, I'm the one who sets the rules. Okay? So from there, it's up to me to recognize those rules and then maintain, enforce or ignore those rules. Islam. But I'll open the floor up for questions. Everybody you can turn your videos on if you want to. And, we'll go from there. Islam. So just let me know what's going on. Q&A. Let me just type. So any questions? I know I was talking long-winded today, but I really wanted to beat this dead horse. You know what I mean? Because I get tired of hearing it. I really do. I really do. I get so tired of hearing it. All the nonsense that you guys, for all the nonsense that you guys spit and spew, you know what I mean, and want to turn around and use more stuff and tax jokers for these DVDs, the least you could do, the least you could do is appreciate the honest truth that Moors are bringing for the salvation of our people. You know what I mean? Of whatever, in between hue and classification that you want to be, we call you Moors. You know what I mean? You may answer to a different name. We call you Moors. Islam. Yeah, I just, I really didn't have much else as far as things to put on the record. I could go further. I could put a whole lot more on the record. You know what I mean? But I think that pretty much could sum it up. 2 hours is good enough. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll have to come back and do this again later. But hopefully not. Hopefully this kind of sets it up and makes it, gives us a firm foundation and understanding as to what the treaty is, its importance. You know what I mean? When you go with last week's class and this class, you should start to see a certain correlation as to, what's going on here. You know what I mean? What is it that we're really dealing with when we talk about a treaty of peace and friendship? What is it, what's really going on when we talk about we have a constitution. You know what I mean? And when Moore said that constitution is the law of the land. You know what I mean? So and shouts out to all my 720 Moors, all my active Moors out there who've been demonstrating, you know what I mean, with the nationality challenge, which, comes in many forms. Some nationality challenges may be in the form of demonstrating, with the taxes, in the non-obligatory, non-exempt, tax status. That may be a demonstration. Others, I've seen, shouts out to Brother Has a Gun, Eel. He demonstrated, with the mail, you know what I mean, and the correspondence with that, and how to deal with debt collections and, fraudulent bills of attainder, Islam. So, there's many demonstrations out here, Moors, but the treaty is our basis, you know what I mean. It's one of our starting points. It's one of our launching pads, like I said, for takeoff. And once we get an understanding of the treaty, Islam, we can mentally begin to spread our wings. All right, and then we can fly. Islam, and I'm just using the analogy because it is a transition. It is a growth that has to take place because nothing happens overnight. You know what I mean? You're not going to read this treaty once or twice or even 10 times and just get it like that and be able to see everything that you could do with it. You know what I mean? To think that would be like thinking, all right, I've got a hammer and I know, with this hammer, every nail that I'm ever gonna hammer with this, with this hammer. You know what I mean? You don't know that because you haven't done any work with that hammer. You know what I mean? So you don't know if at any point, you might think it might get you through this whole bucket of nails, but it might break on you. You know what I mean? So don't count your ducks for they your eggs for they hatch, so to speak. Islam. So that's why we say study, 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 study. You know what I mean? And when Moors want for details, like, what do you mean study? You always talk about study, 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 study. Right? What do you mean study, study, study? We talk about RV Bev publications. We talking about MooresDirectory.com. We talking about, all those, MooresCivilLitter.net. You know what I mean? Moors Public Records, Islam. We're talking about all those, de jure organic Moors sites that we get information from, and we take that information, we turn around and we apply it to our lives for the betterment of our lives. You know what I mean? Islam. And there's a lot of people who will have different versions of what the Prophet said and did, and they will boost themselves to positions and honors and titles that really aren't necessary. You know what I mean? Either you're honorable or you're not. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And if you're in dishonor, what are you doing to get back into honor? You know what I mean? What are you doing to show your allegiance? Whether you're on the Christian side or the Moor side, going back to the topic of the day. You know what I mean? Because there are people in the middle who are just pure anarchists, who don't want any type of peace. They just want, chaos for chaos sake. And they can, take advantage of things in the midst of that chaos, in that storm, so to speak. But we really have to, as a people, come to some firm agreements and understandings as to what we want to do, who we want to be, you know what I mean, and how we want to operate going forward. Now, we've got these treaties that are very clear, you know what I mean, and based on that treaty, we do have an opportunity to negotiate, you know what I mean, but all parties must be respected. You know what I mean? Everybody must come to the treaty, to the table with the treaty in place and an understanding that is the foundation. You know what I mean? That's the foundation of our foremothers and forefathers, so it has to be the foundation today. You know what I mean? That's where we left off last. We can't reinvent the wheel. It doesn't really make any sense, and then at the end of the day, it wastes time. Islam, it wastes time to try to reinvent the wheel when you don't have to. Islam, if you want to, by all means, perfect it. But if you don't have to, if you already have, something you can start with that you works, Islam, because we as active Moors, we know that the treaty works to our benefit. We know that it was written for us. We know that it was signed, sealed, and delivered by the Sultan with his royal seal, and it was done. It was considered a finished matter at that time. We know this. You know what I mean? And again, if you don't know, hit the rewind button, figure it out. But, and I'm going to say this and really try to wrap up this 9:15. All right? We, as Moors, have to come together. You know what I mean? Like I said, and Europeans, this goes for you too. You got to come together with your European family. Be they Dutch, Scottish, Irish, whatever. You know what I mean? Italian, whatever. You got to come together with them. Figure out what you gonna do. All right, And Moors, we gonna figure out what we gonna do, and we gonna come to this table when it's all said and done and figure it out. You know what I mean? And that's true unity. You know what I mean? That's the treaty of peace and friendship in effect. That's Article 6 in effect, in full effect. You know what I mean? But when we're not respecting them for their particular officers, being officers of being, the law, when they claim that, let them claim that. You know what I mean? Until they prove themselves otherwise by their words or their deeds. But if they want to claim to be the Hamburglar, let them be the Hamburglar. But hold them to their oath, Moors, Islam. Because even the Hamburglar got an oath to McDonald's. You know what I mean? All right. But yeah, man. I just want to try to clear some confusion, try to get some things on the record. Try to make sure that you guys know that it's not it's nothing wrong with studying. There's nothing wrong with reading. There's nothing wrong with talking about the Constitution, standing on the treaties. Nothing wrong with talking about that stuff. You know what I mean? That's why we're here, to let you guys know. You know what I mean? And as quiet as it's kept, it's in full effect today, as well as the other treaties. You know what I mean? And we touched on the treaty, the Treaty of Tripoli last week, where we talked about that this was not this nation was in no sense, and I'll hit this for the record. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna open the floor to questions in a second. So get your questions ready. Be thinking of your questions rather. Be thinking what you want to do for homework. And I'm gonna read Autonomy in a second too. Because, as Moors, we really have to keep some things in mind. Like I said, it's never going to come from one sitting. It's never going to come from one, instance. We have to keep repeating it, get redundant with it. You know what I mean? I know it hurts. And sometimes it's sickening, for some Moors. But we got to make sure it stick. And repetition is often the best teacher. Islam, Some people, some people are gluttons for pain, and if that's you, then some folks are hard headed. You know what I mean? It happens. So that's not that. I'm looking for it. Hold on. How much is it? Islam. Thank you. So let's treaty peace of friendship. I'm looking for the Treaty of Tripoli. This article right here. All right, here we go. So this is coming out of Treaty Book, Article 11, Treaty of Tripoli. Right on. As the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, as it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslimin, and as the said states never have entered into any war or act of hostility against any Mohammedan nation, it is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinions shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries. Right there, again, going back to the words of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco. Right, so this is Treaty of Tripoli, Treaty of Morocco, same thing, right? Nothing is supposed to break this peace up. Nothing's supposed to break this harmony up. You know what I mean? And going back to the beginning of the treaty, again, it said that it was supposed to last, it's supposed to remain permanent to this. In the name of Almighty God, this is a treaty of peace and friendship establishing between us and the United States of America, which is confirmed and which we have ordered to be written in the book and sealed with our royal seal at our court of Morocco in the 25th day of the blessed month of Shaban in the the year 21,200. Trusting in God, it will remain permanent. All right. So if it's gonna remain permanent, it's gotta remain permanent. We can't break it, man. If we're gonna break it, we gotta come to the table to break it. We can't just on our own accord do this thing. All right. Islam. So with that being said, I will leave it with that, and I'm gonna open up the floor for questions. You can turn on your video and your mic. Islam. Sis. So ask your questions. You know, make sure that you and again, just so you guys know, this is, you know, I guess you could say this is an Active Moors production. You know what I mean? Moors book, Moors directory, activemoors.com. All right. You know, this every Friday, 6:30. We try to do it till about 8:30 Eastern Standard, but today I think we went way over. We went about an hour over. And that's just because, you know, we were just, you know, vibing and grooving today. But yeah, keeping it moving. If there's no questions on the floor, I just wanted to, you know, just let you guys know, give you an update. As for everybody that wants to get LinkedIn and caught up with us, make sure that you either drop a comment if you're seeing this on YouTube. You know, you can either message me on there, or you can hit me in the comments here in the chat. You know, drop your email. Make sure you do that so that you can get linked in with us at activemoors.com. That way you'll be up to date with all of the latest and greatest that's going on there. Next class. Yes, that is a good. Any questions? That's what I usually base the classes on. What's your questions? Islam? I like debate. Because I try to keep it open, you know what I mean? Try to keep it as open as possible so that we can get through what people need to get through first. And worry about all the other stuff later. You know what I mean? And hopefully, you know, we're answering questions as we go along. You know what I mean? And that's why sometimes you'll see me pause and I won't just read stuff straight through because, you know, for whatever reason, something's telling me, hey, you gotta, you know, make sure that they're clear on this. You know what I mean? How to come out? Well, how to come out of dishonor. All right. So how to come out of dishonor, we will cover that. I.e. privatizing. So yeah, we'll cover all of that. All of that comes through nationalization. You know what I mean? All of that comes through your nationalization. In your national activities as a national and doing things with your other, you know, with your national family. That is predominantly how you come out of dishonor and how you know, privatize your activities, so to speak. But yeah, we can get more into the technicals next week if you want to. But that's just, you know, how you put it. That's how you put it in the chat. You're saying dishonor, i.e. privatizing. So yeah, we can talk about the technicals, all of that good stuff next week. A lot of processes, but it's hard. Sorry, which. Yeah, and really and truly, and this is just to give a heads up, you know, to all you dirty Moors out there. Really and truly, the process of you know, coming out of dishonor and all of that stuff is the process of nationalization. You know what I mean? Because and this is kind of going back to what we were talking about, you know, prior to, you know, when we got the recordings going and everything. When you're talking about, you know, being anything other than a quote-unquote Christian or more, all right, in Northwest Amexem, you can be classed as, you know, in international law, as an enemy combatant, you know, when it's unknown whose flag you're flying under. So when you get classed as an enemy combatant, i.e., through the tag labels branded Negro, Black, or Colored, you know what I mean? You're an undesirable. You're an enemy to the state. All right? You're in dishonor. Okay? But once you nationalize, right? And nationalization meaning the process of coming out of that ignorance of not knowing to realizing that you're an heir of a vast estate that's been disinherited by foreigners. Okay? That once you come through that mental process, and then after having that mental process, you come to the conclusion that yes, I am an heir. Yes, I am a Moor. You know what I mean? And you see your connection to that lineage, right, in Northwest Amexem. You would then take it upon yourself in recognition of that act of dishonor that was done upon you and those marks that were placed upon you, make or fill out a writ informing others as to a name correction, right? And we can go through that in a class. And matter of fact, I think that's what we'll focus on next class, is going through the name declaration first, and then we'll go through the judicial proclamation. Okay? So because in reading through that writ and in understanding that writ, you will learn about the process of coming out of dishonor, because it will raise your mind out of its lower self in the thoughts which put you in dishonor in the first place. Because it's your thoughts, it's your actions, it's your lifestyle, your mannerisms, what you put on paper, what you're saying to these people, that's putting you and keeping you in dishonor at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And I could simply say your verbalisms, but that that wouldn't sum it up. You know what I mean? I could simply say your mannerisms, but it wouldn't sum it up. You know what I mean? So we're gonna touch on that next class. So I think that'll be the homework, and I will put for the homework a template, and all you guys out there can look on RV Bay, if you want to, but I'll put a template of the name, the latest and greatest name declaration, and I do the judicial proclamation just for the heck of it, so you guys can study that for the next week. And so for the next 2 weeks now, we already got it lined up. We're gonna do the name and judicial proclamations, all right? And we're gonna go over those, and we're gonna clear up all the confusion, and hopefully try to kill all the other confusion about the packages and all of that good stuff. Because all the package is what you get in the mail. That's the package. You know what I mean? Whatever you get in the mail. So if you want it, if you want me to send you something, you want to mail you something, I'm gonna put it in a box typically, because I don't want my stuff to be broken when I send it. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna get them to put fragile on there, and then I'm gonna put it at the mailing location or whatever, and then I'm gonna send it to you. And then when you get it, you're gonna open it and be like, oh man, what's this from the Nagi? It's his package. All right. That's the only package I've ever gotten from RV Bay. Now, what I've heard about from Dirty Moors, outside, of things, who will take the documentation that is offered on their website for free, you know what I mean, available to anyone who has a printer, you know what I mean, or who has access to a printer to download and make a copy for themselves. All right. I have seen them take that information that they have offered out there and offer it to people who do not know about the website, as if it was their documentation, as if they put any sweat, blood, and tears into that information, all right, that shows up in it. And oftentimes when I find these versions of or packages, that allegedly come from Moors or people, claiming to be Moors who are active, they take a condensed version of it. And I'm gonna show you how long, and I'm gonna show you, when we go into this writ, for those who are in the classroom, I'm gonna show you guys, with the screen share, whatever, how long this document is. It's not no short, teensy weensy kind of thing you just throw at somebody and, oh yeah, my name correction, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It is a document meant to be, how should I put it, examined thoroughly. All right, and perused with serious interest. All right, in full veracity. Islam. So that'll be for next week. Name declaration, and then the week after that we'll go over the judicial proclamation. It was a little bit shorter. So yeah, hopefully we covered and answered that question about why the treaty is the longest unbroken treaty. Of all the U.S's treaties, and so on and so forth. So, it's 9:30. What do we want to do? What do we want to do to close out? So we want to close out on point. Let's see. So let me, I wanted to make sure I get certain things on the record. Well, I'm going to read from the Oral Statements and Prophecies. All right. We're going to close out with this. And then kind of, part ways from there. So this is the Oral Statements. Or should I read from the other book? No. So forced to make changes. All right. So this is an excerpt from the Moorish Guide, which was the Moorish newspaper at the time, Islam. Published Friday, September 1928 by Prophet Noble Ali. All right. And in the spirit of this, since, this is at themoors.com and this is a digital form of publication, right? We just feel it's necessary. I think this is why my spirit led me. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it is not unusual for a newspaper to make its debut in the city of Chicago. The past years have seen many such come and many such go. The Moorish Guide, taking its initial bow to the public, knows not what the future awaits it. What future awaits it, but throwing its efforts on the sides of right, reason, and tolerance, we hope that we might make the grade. The Moorish Guide enters the field of journalism, quote, with malice toward none and charity to all. It is not our purpose to disregard the work of other splendid journals. It is not our purpose to fail to give due attention and space to all American citizens, individuals and organizations alike. We are working in their chosen fields of endeavor for the progress and development of all American citizens and all American institutions. We hope to cooperate with them in the intensive and grueling battle for universal justice. The Moorish Guide feels that the greatest weapon in the hands of our group today in America is our press. The truth will never be told about a disadvantaged minority by the general press of any country, whether the minority be racial, political, or religious, unless we express ourselves through papers or the internet of our own. The truth about us will not be told. Many of our accomplishments, many of the beautiful things, many of the hopeful things and events which mark the progress of our group will go unrecorded were it not for the papers of our own. We'd be wiped from history, guys. Our papers are our only hope of shoveling ourselves out from under the avalanche of lies that are annually let loose upon us. Quote, a strong free press is the best possible safeguard of the liberties in general promotion and defense in their interests of strong free people. Right? And just, going into the record a little bit more, just laying it down, because we do have he was a holy and divine prophet. Number one, coming from the Old Statements of Prophecies, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourselves. Right? And when he said this, the prophet was talking. It says when he said that, the prophet was holding up a Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and a questionnaire to show the books we need to save ourselves with. Right? Number two, children, you are at home. And the European is 3,000 miles from home. And he is going to have to take on some water. Right? So, we're not really too worried about things. And I don't really have to go too deep into it. But, we'll save that for another day. So, like I said, Islam, let that, as they say, be sweetest benediction and all that good stuff. Church, tabernacle, amen, hallelujah. Praise Jesus. And Jesus means justice. All right. So, yeah, we done with all of that good stuff, man. Islam. Next week, we will be going over the name and judicial proclamation. We'll try to start the judicial proclamation. We might not get to it. You know how we go. But, we'll end it with that. And with that, I say peace and love. Islam, 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 Islam. If there's no questions on the floor, Islam. Peace, peace. All right. And email me if you got any questions. If you want this on DVD, just holler at me. We can get that pressed up. If you want any past classes that are recorded, we can get that on DVD for you. All the other classes, unfortunately, technical difficulties, couldn't get all that out. Blame Ustream and YouTube for that. But yeah, man, see you guys next week. Thank you for coming. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching this. If you're checking it out on YouTube, please like, share, comment, and all of that good stuff. For everybody in the chat, Islam. Peace. Yeah, man. I just, I'm just glad to be here, man. Islam. See you guys next week. Islam, peace and love.